Man, well, we're doing our usual Saturday stream under some pretty unusual weather. I mean, it is raining cats and dogs, and I'm tired of it because it's been like this since yesterday. I actually was kind of worried about coming out. I was originally going to. So what happened today was that I stayed up late because my best friend called me at like 1 in the morning. So we spoke for like an hour and a half, and it was like 3 o'clock when we finished speaking. Um, and what I thought would happen was that this other person who was scheduled to do this thing in the morning would like wake me up while they were, doing their stuff or getting ready to leave because that's usually what happens. Instead, they didn't go to their morning thing, so I slept in effectively. Like I just didn't get up until probably like half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago, something around that time. Which is really weird for me because the latest I usually sleep during the morning is probably till 9 a.m. So that was really strange. Like I looked at the time, I was like, I can't believe this. I've got a little bit of a stomach ache. I know what it was from eating last night. That happens a lot where I eat something and then I feel the residual effects of it after I like during the next day or whatever. So that might be something that I'm not going to say it's going to interrupt me because I have nowhere I can go to get it dealt with in this scenario. But it is raining like crazy. Um, if you can hear any of the little pieces falling down, I apologize. But there's nothing I can do about it. Um, maybe if I was Storm from X-Men, I could lift them up over here, but I don't have those powers. It's crazy too because I've done streams at like in a house before, and then you can hear the rain smacking against against the inside or whatever, like against the house itself, because it's just so loud and there's so much of it. So it was weird too because when I could have sworn I heard none of it, and then I go outside and there's like a little bit of drizzle, and it just like goes and goes and goes. So one of the things I'm hoping for is that if I go the full usual 2 hours, maybe it'll not be as bad, so I can go and run my series of groceries. But I don't know. Weather is just a strange thing, and it seems to just it really does make you want to just stay at home sometimes. And I guess with me, I have this very consistent schedule where I go and on the weekend try to like get my stuff to eat for the week, and just there's an order to how I guess operate, and not being able to do that because, or rather, you can still do it, but just like I mentioned before, I really hate driving in the rain probably more than any other condition because it fogs up the windows and just makes it very hard to see sometimes. And like a lot of the images, I can still make out what they are, but the screen becomes very what's a good word for it? It's harder to make out stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I like to, if it's a rainy day, just drive a little bit, some little short drives, 5-10 minutes, and then after that just go back home. It's just too much. Yes, would I rather drive in the rain or at night? I'd rather do it at night. It's really awful. You can't even get excited to go outside anymore because it just rains and rains and rains. I said before, the weather over here is just it really fluctuates to degrees of absurdity. Like you can have the sky just sunny and bright and it's hot, and then by the next week it'll be very cold, or it'll just be what's a good way of saying it? It'll be something that does not align with the heat with the weather we're having now. You would think a few days ago this wouldn't have even been this close together. Like it's really scary how it just switches and changes, you know, very fast. Really tired of this weather, man. Yeah, one way to get me not to run my errands is to just have the rain going. It's a surefire thing to just have me say, yeah, I was gonna do these things today, but not really. I mean, I know what it is. It's having to like pack an umbrella, and then when you like get inside or are trying to get in something, whether it's a car inside your home, you have to like close the thing up, and uh, the rush of trying to get the right keys to lock a door to open the door. All that stuff is just irritating. I mean, I'm very annoyed. Yeah, if nobody comes today, I'm not going to be too surprised because it's on me for not doing it at the usually scheduled time. Um, but that's always why I try to have some kind of order to when it happens so that you can know when to show up rather than just random stuff. Man, this rain. It is also interesting that a lot of times I've seen it to where it'll like really spike up and then it'll stop abruptly. Like you'll have it just go full force for less than 10 minutes and then it'll kind of let up like it is now. Um, there was one time where I was walking home from school and I was in I think yeah college and I was shocked that the rain because this walk is probably like 15 20 I'm gonna say 20 minutes like 20 30 minutes. And I was surprised that as I was walking, it started raining. I was like, "Oh my god!" Then by the time I actually got to my home, it stopped. It's like that's really nuts to me. That it just the weather is so you know quick to change, and to where in an hour you can go from rain to no rain to rain, and then to no rain again. That was always the worst thing about walking. If it was raining and you don't have a vehicle to sit inside of or an umbrella, even with those, it's just because when that wind starts blowing, it pushes the umbrella up and it's really forceful, and you start getting kind of nervous about just how strong this weather is. So I always try to, anytime there's some really bad weather, I just try to stay out of it. Just like I remember that last job I had, they had this. I think I mentioned the rule about you can only wear black, and then if you wore a coat or something that wasn't black, you couldn't wear it. And I was like, it's really crazy to me for as cold as it is in the mornings over here, and as much as rain as we've had, during like the winter months, that would even be a thing that they would think logically makes sense. Like that's enforcing uniform to a point of absurdity where people have to go out and buy a black jacket too just to not be freezing to death when they go outside with this stupid place. So that's why I said I was not sad to not be there when they were like, oh, come for a week in a day, because it's like you wanted me to buy a uniform pair of shirts, which if we're talking about multiple days, we're gonna have more than two, so that's gonna be like 40 $60. Then if I didn't have any black pants, that would be another 40 or $60. And I have a bunch of those already, so it wasn't something that came out of my pocket. But it's like, these places want you to give them money for the stupid uniform, and then they expect you to like not notice how ridiculous they are. Because jackets sometimes go for $50, 67. Their prices are a lot more, in my opinion, scattershot than something like a shirt. And it's like, you're imagine spending that $50 just to wear a coat at your job, like just to not freeze at your job. That's why I said these places they're run by some maniacs. Like even if I had a place with a uniform, I would still if it's like cold inside or freezing, I would let people wear their own damn jacket. The shoes have to be black. The shirt has to be black. The pants have to be black. The jacket, god damn, have some variety. It's not even about like purposefully having variety either. It's just like you already, if you already had to spend money to get the shirt or pants or shoes, why do you have to do that with a coat as well? Because they had a lot of different periods where they would have us go outside for like to get some from the garage or some other place. It's like, this is crazy. Yeah, I'm just tired of this weather, man. It's really bad. It's not good in the slightest. I think we're probably gonna have the stream go out at some point, and if it does, I'll just upload some random video, and then that will be my thing for today. I'm not gonna go crazy over it. So that really doesn't do anything. That just like I turned the light on. I thought we could get some brightness in here, but it doesn't look like it's actually effective. Yeah, this stuff is just never simple. Oh man. God. Yeah, the way today was supposed to go was I would get my get woken up at 10 or whatever. This person leaves to go to their thing. I can then stream in the place, but it didn't happen. So maybe Monday will be the first out of the last 5 streams to actually not be from here. Because I mostly I'm all right with it. It's just I used to be able to just finish the thing, then I could just lay down, whatever. I didn't have to go anywhere. But like you finish speaking, and then you have to go drive back, and I just it's less of a hassle to do it from there than here. Is the way to put it. Yeah, stuff is not simple. Man, I'm glad people watched the video on that stupid article. I actually talked about it with my friend yesterday, and we were just discussing how, um, it wants to have its cake and eat it too. It wants to address an issue that's affecting a lot of people, but it doesn't want to talk about it in a way that can be considered crass or otherwise supposedly demeaning of women or whatever. And I was just saying that what's really sad about these pieces is that when you read them, they try to make it sound like they care. They're like, there's this epidemic of men who are single and lonely and and men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of women. But then when you really read the stuff that people are saying, the people they're quoting, even as they're trying to pretend they're neutral, um, it's all based around it's the man's fault. I mean, you got this one guy talking about women expect more from men, and many men don't have more to give. And it's like, what is the inference there? That we're not good enough for this group of people that rights that they didn't have before. I mean, it's and I always say the stuff I believe really led to what's going on now is social media and just a lot of the internet kind of sinking its claws into a whole generation of these chicks and making a lot of them believe that they're too good for um pretty much anybody. If you don't fit their specific idea of what a man should be, you might as well just say forget it. um But the article doesn't mention that at all, because it, and what is so obnoxious is that it's stupid to say because they um don't have to be with man, they that this is why, because you've had women who've been able to work supported by, like, for literal, I hate to be anecdotal, but my mother had a job before meeting my dad and didn't have to rely on him to pay for any of her bills or whatever, and still dated him. So it's like, where does this idea come from that supposedly every single one of them is now earning all this money? And it's just a stupid thing that article came up with, because they don't want to acknowledge actual things that are recent developments that really botch this whole cycle. So it's just a bunch of people who are trying to say things without actually having any substance to it. And I was glad to laugh at that stupid thing. I just didn't expect to cover it because The Hill, as a news source, usually doesn't talk about stuff like that. I remember they had that birth rate at 30-year low sequence, right? But outside of that, they don't normally get into social things having to do with. And honestly, I prefer if they don't, because a lot of these newspapers are run by these, these people where they are kind of like older, or they've never really experienced any of this stuff, so they don't have any firsthand experience with it, um, or knowledge of it rather, and that leads them to kind of just printing whatever. There's this one guy, he used to be on YouTube before he got himself in trouble, and he would make these streams talking about how um, men of the modern era are weaker, and there's all these chicks that it's easier to get with a woman than ever before because you could just go on an app or whatever. And I was laughing because here's a guy that's in his mid 40s going on 50s. He was and I always have to say, you have to look at context. This is a man who, by the time social media really took off, he was already in like his early 30s. Like, he did it, he wasn't affected by this stuff. Um, so it's just funny that someone who wouldn't be affected by it would come and say to another person, "Oh yeah, get over it. It's easy. It's simple." It's really humorous. Yeah, Jem. The North Korea video at the latest is going to be out on Tuesday. Full script is written. I've got all the clips I want to use. All I have to do is just take the articles I've sourced and edit them in there with me reading them, and then that'll be it. So I might be able to finish it tonight. I don't have any other projects lined up. I might do it tomorrow. Oh no, if I did documentaries in that format, it would be a lot easier to do them, where you just take a specific issue and do a video about it, where it's like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. Jesus Christ. Um, but that's a lot easier than writing a 100-page script and then going through it piece by piece. And I'm talking about, though, it takes a lot of the load off of me, because really, out of the major regions we were like really beefing with, having like a real conflict with, it was probably North Korea, China, and maybe Iran. You know what I mean? Like those are the biggest ones that, like, if I did the video, those would be the largest ones to do, because there's so much stuff that happened with them. Um, and then the other countries would be much quicker and shorter, and because I have it arranged in alphabetical order. But you know what I'm saying? My goal is to like do the biggest ones first, like kick those out of the way as far as you know writing the stuff out. Because with China, you have a trade war, you have all these sanctions that are getting put on different officials from over there. Every time I load my stream, I can't see it. That's crazy. And then with Iran, you have the nuclear deal, getting pulled out of, and what's his name, the General Soleimani, that assassination. Let me know if you want to meet for lunch. I have to check my schedule. YouTube used to be a lot easier to do stuff like that on because it had that private message feature where you could just talk to someone through that means, and now it's just rotten. Like you have to go on all kind of other websites to even speak to somebody. It's really crazy. But yeah, after North Korea, the next one will either be Iran or China, because those are probably the three biggest. I mean, I said before, China is the U.S.'s unofficial arch nemesis as far as that's the other world superpower, and we always are trying to like get at them for economic stuff. So they'll be one of those two. It's so weird, just all the people they sanctioned, and we're going to condemn them for human rights violations, but we're doing the exact same thing ourselves. Hey, it's a good thing we're not including the last 2 years. Otherwise, we have to talk about that stupid balloon. I think the funny thing about China is that they had a real good point about how hysterical we became over something that killed no one, that hurt no one. It was just in the air. Yeah, it's been a really interesting last couple of years for these relations. 500,000 to deal with balloons. I don't even know what that is. Like what I still can't believe that for several days on end, all of these major news networks and some of the different politicians too, the Chinese balloon that invaded American airspace. Like that's really what had them up in arms. Like just like Jem, imagine living in a country where you have millions of people homeless, over $1 trillion in student loan debt. People get out of college, they have an anchor by their leg. All these millions of people uninsured and with with regard to health insurance, and the thing that had people talking for multiple days on end was a stupid balloon that hurt and killed nobody. It was it was a distraction, and that's why I didn't do any videos on it. I was like, out of all the major things happening, you want to sit here and talk about some floating in the air that isn't even doing anything to anybody. That just shows you people they focus on the stupidest stuff. They really do. Totally ridiculous. But I told you this is like regular news outlets. I almost never watch because if I go to a place like The Hill, that's my usual news space. They have all kinds of different stories about this person said this person did that. There's stuff I don't see on TV, right? You go to CNN or Fox or any of those, like it's the same stuff. Just like I don't know if there's like a guy that is accused of killing his wife and his son in, I think it's South Carolina. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. There's some kind of trial that's going on now. I go to Fox, they're playing it. I go to CNN, they're playing it. I go to what's the other one? MSNBC, and I'm like, they're all playing. Like, how crazy it is that you have three networks, and they're all playing the same stupid case. Like they're all playing this. And the worst part is they were lying the whole time. They never detected the balloon until someone alerted them. I'm telling you, if the shoe was on the other foot and we launched the balloon into the airspace of China, and they were and the different I guess officials from over there were like, hey, this is scary and they're invading sovereignty, we would be laughing at them. Oh, you guys are getting so caught up. But when we do it, but when it happens to us, then it's like it's this big, huge, scary thing that we have to talk about day after day. How does that work? I say people are just so weird to me. Like the stuff they get caught up on, it's so hollow and empty. Because I said before that, like, if I ran for a congressional district, I would talk about homelessness, talk about potholes and just like different stuff that affects people. I mean, it's just so insane that this is like all of the major ones were complaining about a stupid balloon. So as a result, more money will go to the military. Oh, they love increasing those budgets every year. Hundreds of billions of dollars every single year. Well, Jem, really, it just comes down to the fact that when I spoke to the Secretary of State, they were telling me about how you can't even file until the year of the election, so I'd have to wait until next year to even be able to do it. Um, I'll probably give them another call between the end of this month and like midway through March. I'm just trying to see like iron everything out, ask all the questions. You know how this stuff is when you first get involved with anything. It's not exactly as simple as it will be to a lot of other people. I can tell you this: if I did run, there will be no corporate donors, no private meetings with billionaires, and hey, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. None of that. I still think the grassroots stuff is a lot better than any other nonsense. Understood. Please continue to follow up. I'm definitely following up because I just and there was one subscriber, and this goes back to what someone else had said. There was this one subscriber that was like, "Are you sure you want to run? Maybe you should work for another politician before doing something like that." And I was like, isn't it sad that if someone wants to do something, even if it's not like a big deal, like maybe they just because people run for office all the time, right? Isn't it sad that like you have these random people that just come out of nowhere and they're like, "Don't do this. Are you sure you want to like cast their doubts on you for even thinking of wanting to do something?" Like I'm talking about like these people that just appear out of the blue. Like, are you sure? I think it's really sad because it's part of that same old pattern of people, wanting to waggle their finger and try to tell somebody what to do. Yep, they need to shut up. Well, my thing is a lot of times somebody can run one time and lose, and then they still got something of value from running because now they know how to do it. Like if I ran and go to every single damn door and go, "Hey, I'm in this district running for this," other person is sitting at home, you know, just expecting to have this seat, uh, and then I don't win, I can do it again, and now be a familiarized figure with all the people I spoke to while I ran the first time. You know what I'm talking about? Like it a lot of times you do it just so you can get a hang of it. That's why I said people miss the forest for the trees. Like they don't understand that sometimes certain things are done in the way that they are so a person can gain something else from it. But what I'm really worried about is that in this state, they have what's called a jungle primary. So if you run against a bunch of Democrats and you beat the head Democrat, then you would just win the general election because this is a blue district, or that was a blue district I was looking at. But the problem is that because of the jungle primary, it ends up being two Democrats versus each other. And what can end up happening is all the establishment hacks, right? They can go, oh man, that random guy from whatever district is leading our picked person. Let's spend $1 million on ads. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like because of the fact that you can have two people from the same party go to the general, it makes it harder to like actually win, because then the people that back the other person, and I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about the corporate pricks from out of state and from all over the place that have like millions of dollars, they can go and just pour that into the other person and, you know, have their name on TV every minute. Community needs. They got nothing on you. Point out their bull. Dude, I'm telling you, if I made like a campaign website, you wouldn't see a single picture of me on there. It would be all the homeless people. It would be all the potholes. It would be all these places that say now hiring, and then like an article that shows all the like people that are unemployed. Like you would see all types of different things affecting this stupid you know, like modern society that we live in, you know. Well, yeah, because I go to the sites of some of these people, and they're talking about they want to have a strong economy and all this like nebulous stuff. Like, what are you going? What exactly are you going to do to Haley for the last for like the last week she was running, and almost every time she speaks, it's stuff that, you know, like she was talking about a mental competency test for politicians over 75, and I'm like, out of all the things affecting Americans right now, the biggest issue you could choose to champion and just mention over and over is how competent people who if they, you know, I mean, it's just stupid. It reminds me of when Harris was talking about wanting Trump banned off of Twitter. Like, out of all the things that are happening, this is what you choose to have as like a recurring top issue of your campaign. You know what I mean? Like that's what you pick to be known as the mental competency candidate. Are you serious? It is word salad. She was talking about Republicans have lost 7 out of the 8 last presidential elections popular votes, and I was like, well, I mean, yeah, and that's going to happen to you. It's going to be 8 out of 9 if they nominate you or Trump or DeSantis. Like, that person might still win with the electoral college, but they're not getting the popular vote. Like, you can't have a problem with LGBT people and expect, you know what I'm talking about? Like you're gonna run with the exact same positions as the last person who ran and didn't get the most votes, and then be surprised when you end up with another loss. It is word salad. Told you, if I decided to like actually get involved in this stuff from an election standpoint, I would go all out. I would know all the rules. They would tell me what places I can and can't campaign in, and I would just go and to like each different major hub of people. Hey, you know, I'm running for this, and you know, and then that would just be how it goes, where you just kind of speak to them and talk to them a little bit about stuff. Because like I said, even something as basic as that still can go a long way compared to someone that just sits at their place and, you know, doesn't, like, they might have like one town hall a month or something, you know. Jim, I'm not going to go that far. We've seen races where there's a person who's like really, you know, into issues, and is very serious about getting things done, and they lose to some word salad person. I'm looking at that last presidential primary, for example. Go to churches and school. That'd be funny if they let me speak at a church. I'm like, I've always believed as a Christian that people should have a right to basic things like healthcare and having a job. You know what I mean? Like those. All you need is 5 minutes. The only thing I'm worried about is the amount of votes we have to get, like the tens of thousands or whatever, and just kind of. I just need to get like a map of the whole place and just go to each particular region, answer questions when I always do that. I mean, that's not even up for debate. I always answer stuff unless it's something really personal that has nothing to do with the issues. I'm prone to answering most stuff. But yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna win or anything like that because I've never done this before, so I really don't want to get too confident. I think uh again, it's a learning curve. Like you learn how to do this stuff. Stay away from personal stuff. Also, no personal attacks. No, the only thing I would say about my opponent is their record and the fact that like a lot of these incumbents don't even try that hard to get another term. Like you don't see them holding town halls. You don't see them any of their volunteers going door to door. Like they just sit in their little mansion and go up. I'm the person who already has position, so I'm sure I'll get 60,000 votes automatically. I hate that. And that's going to be one of the biggest things that makes me want to do it, which is a dedication to the issues and wanting competitive primaries. Like I'm tired of these Democrats running in these all blue districts and having like, if one person does run against them, it's a Republican, so they're not going to win anyway. Like I want an actual substantive alternative to what we normally get is the way I would put it. And like I said, I know the basics of Congress. I know about legislation and drafting bills and submitting them, and so it's not like I'm just running to push the other person's positions on issues. Like I have a surefire thing of what I would do if I was actually elected. So it's just one of those things where you have to make the case of how you're mainly you're focused on the campaign and you have your ideas of what's beyond that, but you have to make your case to the voters first, and anything that comes after that will be dealt with in the appropriate manner. Just like we were talking about how Manchin destroyed Build Back Better, him and Cinema, right? And I would talk about how just because somebody has a D next to their name, that doesn't mean they're your friend. And there should be a whole series of a whole little like group of Democrats from just different, like more to the left wing or whatever, who actively campaign to get rid of him in Cinema, because those two halted progress in a more effective way than the actual opposition party. So we should have like a little plane of us, maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 people, all fly to West Virginia and get somebody in primary Manchin, then all fly to Arizona. I wouldn't even have to fly, I'll just drive over there and get rid of her as well. I'll tell you, Cinema's the biggest fraud ever because she used to be a part of the Green Party, like the really left wing people, right? And now she's this right. I mean, it's crazy. Her position switched, like at least with Manchin, he's consistent about the fact that he's a conservative, blue dog Democrat, right? No one is thinking big. No, they don't. I mean, there's a lot of problems with that party and the people that run it. You know, their corporate interests, um, allowing pretty much anybody with a D next to their name that's right wing to stay there. There's a lot of stuff that's wrong with them, and I would use a campaign to expose that. I really would, just to talk about things that people might not be aware of. Maybe have like a series of papers, you know, like some stuff I've printed out to just show people like, hey, you know, this person voted against this. This is happening right now. We have 63% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, and you can't even get Manchin to agree to a $2 wage increase. You know, like just something like that. It really goes a long way in showing just how you can't even get the bare minimum from these people, and like what good are they for? Told you, I really don't even care about like just any of that personal stuff, because you know my thing is very much based around issues. So if I mention my opponent at all, it's because they have some position I don't agree with. Um, and you know, I just want people to have an alternative. I'm not gonna say this other person is an idiot, none of that, but just you know, just giving people more options. That's because I think something's wrong with these elections where you have your very like centrist, don't want to shake, because I would be very transparent about the fact that if I won, I probably would only get one term because I would do things that are so out there as far as the rest of the party is concerned that they would all work together to try and get me primaried and defeated or whatever. Like, I'm not here to have no career in politics. I'm here to actually bring awareness to certain issues and, you know, change things. Told you, I would go on CNN or Fox and be like, hey, you know, it's real nice to cry about a balloon, but we have all this homelessness, and I don't really see anybody talking about it. Because I said before that, like, news networks, if they were worth a damn, they would be talking about that every single day. You would see breaking news. A new poll just came out: 63% of Americans live paycheck to pay, but you don't see that. Think about how crazy that is. A majority of people that work in the country across, like all across, right? If they don't get paid for 1 week, then they're screwed. No, they don't care, and they're paid not to care. Dude, every time I would go on there, I'd be like, hey, so by the way, there's this major story that's happening. I just want to give some real news for a second. They would get so tired of me mentioning that stuff. They were like, oh my God. They might have me on each of those stations like one time, and that'll be it. You remember how what was it, Morning Joe banned Kellyanne Conway after after like 1 month of her appearing on that show? They would get rid of me after one appearance. I'd be informally banned. You would never see them reach out for a statement from me. They already know what they're gonna get. Hey, imagine if I don't know if you saw that video, Jem, but I was talking about how there was this like article from the Hill about how most young men are single, most young women are not, and it was interesting because it was from the place I usually get news from, the Hill, but it wasn't about like an actual, you know what I'm talking about, like it intersected with other stuff I discuss. And it was I was just thinking it would be really funny if they asked me like, am I part of any of these romance groups? I'm like, no, the only group I'm part of is the labor group, and the healthcare for everybody group. Those are my only affiliations. Because me and my best friend were like laughing about like people always assuming you're part of this team if you have an opinion. And I was saying, it's crazy. They make it sound like if you talk about chicks and how hard it is to get with one of them, you're gonna get like a membership card in the mail and with with a pension and benefits. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like they make it sound like you're really joining some organization, and like, it's just some guys online that I agree with on a few things, but I've never actually like sat around with any of them. You know? Well, I told you they want to associate criticism of women with misogyny, with violence, with with just with any negative bad trait you can think of, and I really hate that because a topic like that requires a nuanced, civilized discussion, and you're just not going to have it here. Oh, thank you, Jem. I appreciate it. By the way, I don't know if you saw the video I did on Cheney and Green, but I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I woke up that morning and it had like 800 views in 5 hours. Like, what in the world? I wish people would just mind their own business. Yeah, that's what I do. I don't tell anybody what to wear, how they should look. Just like we had a discussion last week about how in for the State of the Union, what was it? It it, it was big. I was going to tell you, we had a discussion last week about the State of the Union and how you had all these Congress members who were in suits and ties and dresses and skirts and heels and all these different professional outfits, right? But they're acting completely unprofessional while they're dressed like that. They're making noises and saying you look like, and I was like, it's crazy to me that people put so much premium into the way that they look, but almost nothing into what's actually coming out of their mouth, Like and that's why I said that if like I would purposely go to something like the State of the Union just in regular attire because I don't like that men all dress the same like a uniform, like we're all what I'm talking about. Like I don't like that it's the same exact thing except color changes or whatever. And if someone said, "Hey, why didn't you show up in the tie?" I'd be like, "Well, the people that are dressed that way are not acting professional, so there's no reason for me to attempt to emulate them." Like kids, yeah, they are. Yeah, this man giving a speech and you're gonna go boo, and it reminded me of those of the British Parliament where when the Prime Minister talks, they get to like make noises and go. But what's worse is that this speech was supposed to be a traditional thing where maybe you clap at different parts and that's it, and you don't clap if you just didn't agree with what was said. But like now it's gotten to where if you say something, you can expect a person to yell. If you, I mean, it's ridiculous. Do not matter how. Oh, I know it doesn't because Congress doesn't have a dress code. The closest they had was that there was a rule on the House about not being able to wear a hat. Um, and I remember distinctively that I think that got overturned about 5 years ago. I have to look into it. But yeah, there's no dress code for Congress. You know, you get elected, that's it. And like I said, I'm a person who's really of the belief that like because we're in an era where it's like men are frowned upon if they say something about what a woman wears. So I'm saying, hey, we should have that both ways. If women can wear whatever they want, men should be able to wear whatever they want. I think that's fair. I think if you believe in true equality and all the rest of that, you should subscribe to that belief. Yeah, that yelling is out of hand. And what's worse is that you go back to like 14, 15 years ago. I don't know if you remember, but it was in Obama's first year. He gave some speech to a joint session of Congress, and this congressman from South Carolina yelled out, "You lie!" And he got condemned by everybody. And now today, the people who made the noises while Biden was talking are so confident in what they did that they're like, "Yeah, that was me that yelled. That was me that said boo." Yeah, that just shows you how in such a because 10 plus years really is not in terms of world history not that big an amount of time, but that shows you how far like how much decorum and just like basic I mean, like for example, I don't like Green, right, or Bo Bird or any of these other people, but if they were giving speeches and talking about whatever they want to talk about. You know, it's like let's say I'm invited to an event that they're giving a speech at, right? I'm not going to, as a person who was formally invited, go, "Ah, ah." You know what I mean? Like, what is that? Again, if people ask me after, what did you think? I'll say, hey, I didn't like it, but maybe I'll have some visual discomfort. But as far as making noises and interrupting the person, I just again, there's like certain courtesy based stuff I just wouldn't do. Especially if I'm invited to. It'd be different if I'm there to protest, like at the DNC where they don't invite anybody. So you have to go outside with your little picket fence, with your protest sign and your what do you call it? The picture of the party's logo with a little circle and X over it. No, the decorum is deceased, man. The people just they act any kind of way now. People have no standards with regard to the people that they elect, with regard to the people that they date. I mean, it's sad. They no standards at all anymore. And if they do have standards, it's over stupid stuff. Like, oh my God, this man didn't wear a suit while he was running for office. Like, okay, the person that you're voting for doesn't even know half the countries that they're supporting bombing. So what is your you know what I mean? Like, it's so goofy to me, man. All of it is just such a joke, and it's sad because there's like actual good things that can come out of these exchanges that are not going to happen because of the way people are. God, that weather is awful. No, I think the party really could use a major shakeup. Like, that's why I said if I was able to win, I would really treat it like this is gonna be my only term, because you don't know what way they well, you can infer what way they'll react when you actually start calling them out, doing things that show their ridiculousness. Because I'm not a fan of incrementalism. I'm not a supporter of, oh, we got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like they were talking about, instead of single payer, oh, let's lower the age of Medicare to by 5 years. I'm like, well, I mean, that's going to put us at like what, 60, 55, something, whatever the number is. And I'm like, if we're going at that uh, tiny itty bitty amount of speed, you can expect to get covered by it fully in like what, 2,130 or something. I mean, that's crazy. I'm not even saying it to be funny. It's really disturbing just how they have these major issues happening and they don't want to address it at all. Or if they do, it's like really minor stuff. Like it's really disturbing. You look at all these homeless people don't have jobs. You would say, okay, well, it's time for a mandatory jobs program, for a government run jobs program where if you want a job, we can find you something to do. And it's like, who would be opposed to that? Because remember what they say: you just want free stuff and you don't want to work for it. But if you're supporting the creation of a program where you have to work for what they give you, like, I can't imagine who would be against. But it kind of reminds me of how every time there's a mass shooting, you get all these congressmen are like, we need to do something about. You get the Democratic ones, gun control. Then you get the Republicans. Oh, there's this big issue about mental health. But then when this happens, they don't try to pass anything having to do with more access to therapists or psychiatrists, because they don't actually care. They just want to divert attention from the root of the issue, which is the easy access to firearms. And then I guess hope that by the time people are done talking about this, they'll move on to something else. I told you, after that Vegas shooting and that record break, really after both the Pulse one and the Vegas one, I really thought things would finally start being a little bit different, because those broke records of like the most assassinated or whatever. But it, like, even now, they're nothing really happened. I mean, in Vegas, you have this crazy, insane guy go up to the top of this 30 floor hotel, and just fire hundreds and hundreds of rounds into this crowd of people, kills over 50 people. And the response to that is to talk about bump stocks for like a month, and then after that, act like it didn't even happen. Like by January of the following year, no one was even talking about it anymore. It was just whatever. This happened. Okay, on to the next one. You look at the Uvalde one. This crazy bastard goes into a preschool, kills all these children. Really, it's like a newer version of Sandy Hook. It's Sandy Hook all over again 10 years later. And again, they talk about it for like a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, and then that's it. So that's what the US has turned into. Just hope that wherever you are, there's not some insane person with a firearm, because if they kill you, we'll talk about how sad of what happened to you was for like maybe a week or two, and then we'll just wait until it happens for somebody else and choose to not actually do anything, because the people that want to do something don't have the power to, and the people that don't want to do anything are not going to. That's America with guns. That's every like couple of weeks or months you can expect some major mass shooting to happen, and people talk about it for a little bit, then they move on, then there's another one, and then it gets like the cycle just repeats and repeats and repeats. And Haley had the nerve when she announced her campaign to talk about the Charleston one where that insane guy went and killed people in the church. I'm like, idiot, you didn't even do anything. Like, you didn't pass a single bill. Thoughts and prayers was your response. So it's just there's a lot of problems over here, man. There's a lot of stuff wrong with America. and yet we should care about Ukrainians. I mean, the problem I have with Ukraine is that it just feels like it's going nowhere. As far as like all the money we give them, there's no. So I'm really just tired of the whole thing. I feel like we got dragged into it. We tried to grandstand. Oh, we're the biggest ally for this other country, but there's a lot of domestic stuff I think needs to be fixed. We should care about Ukrainians, but nobody cares about Americans. Even American politicians don't care about Americans. They're just there for their next check from Big Pharma or the NRA or any other agency you can think of. I'm telling you, these conflicts are really showing just how sick the U.S. is. I mean, some stuff in society is really, really backwards, and nobody talks about it. I mean, imagine living in an era, because elections were not like this before. You can go back to the 30s, 20s, 40s, 50s, 60s. People could really just get off their couch and run for office, and then that would be it. But now you're expected to like meet with donors who like talk about the possibility of you being able to like win the seat, and how much money they're going to invest in your kid. And it's like, it's such a corrupt enterprise now, like the amount of money that people expect you to shell out for an election, even like little ones, like the House is really not that big compared to the Senate, for example. um I mean, some of these people spend upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's why I said, I know I'm going to be outspent probably by the other person anyway, so I wouldn't have any of that corporate stuff with me. I would just everything would be small dollar donations. And if people, do end up supporting the other person, it is what it is. But I would really call attention to that fact that like it should be a lot easier to get involved with this stuff than it is. It shouldn't just be, oh, here's this new seat that opened up. Let's have 5 major politicians endorse this hand-picked person, and then they'll take that seat, and then after they get off of it, we'll all get together to endorse our friend. Like I think that's really scummy. I told you, man, this stuff gets worse and worse every year. Like they had what was that one house seat? I think it was the one in Georgia with Ossoff and I forget who the other person was, but it was the most. It was like they were spending millions of dollars for this little house seat that's going to be up for re-election next year. I mean in 2 years rather. It's crazy. The price of everything has ballooned. Because I do think with a lot of those presidential campaigns, especially, people run for way too damn long. Like they announce you have the election in November of the year the year after. They announce sometimes in January, February of the year before. That's like a 24, 23-month campaign. No, it's fine. I don't expect you to respond immediately, but I was just talking about how the cost of running in this stuff is crazy. I have to step away. Okay, well, thanks for showing up, and I appreciate your attendance, and I'm glad you came, and I also appreciate the contribution. I don't ask for it, so anytime somebody gives it, I really appreciate it. And that the North Korea documentary will probably be done at the latest within the next couple of days. So it's we are seeing some things getting made here. Everything is slowly going back up as far as prices go. I went to Chick-fil-A about 2 or 3 months ago, and I got a milkshake, and I remember the cost for my fries, burger, and the shake was like $12, right? Shake's like $2. I go there one day about a week later, maybe 2 weeks later at most, and all of a sudden my thing's 14. I'm like, why is it $14 for something that was 12 before? They bumped the price of the shake up by $2, and then they actually in the last couple of weeks they've bumped it up to now be $5, and it's a little tiny shake that's like this big, and they think it's a good idea to make it cost that damn much. And I was even saying that I can go I can go to a place like McDonald's and their large is maybe $4, but it's a large shake, not the same little small size, you know, is now going for $5 at Chick-fil-A. So there's a lot of price differences that are just not adding up for me. Like I refuse to buy a shake from that place ever again until they lower it. That doesn't make any sense. You want to increase, like, bump up the prices on stuff, bump up the size of the thing you're making. You give me some large shake that's like this big, I'll pay $5 for that, yeah. but not that little tiny small one that you can probably fit in your pocket. That's crazy. I went to what's that place, Fat Burger, and it was like $16 for one burger. So me and this person together got two, and it's like 30 some dollars. And I was like, that's the equivalent of a whole week's worth of like TV dinners for me, because I've gone to some places where you can get those for $4, $5. That's really nuts. Like the prices on everything are just getting insane. But like I said, for as bad as they are, none of them are as awful as the prices for rent. It was their pleasure. Well, it wasn't my pleasure when I saw the price on that thing. I said I will never get another shake from here again. And it's really weird too because their prices are fairly consistent with what other fast food places have, where it's like $10 just for the fries and burger, maybe 12 if you want to just get a drink as well. But now they're like bumping up and bumping up and bumping up. It's really crazy. Like I don't know how anybody even affords a shake over there. That little tiny shake they want they want $5 for. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Are you serious? Really? This is how much you guys want for this little thing?" Like I said, rent's still the biggest issue, but that drink being that much didn't make any sense. Like I've been to a lot of different fast food places that have dessert items, and I've never seen anything that small cost so much from any of them. So I'm not going to pay for that ridiculous price. You would think they're importing their shake from France or something. You're paying the shipping fee too. Oh my god. I'm telling you, this stuff is really insane. I already said before, a lot of stuff just is not the way it should be. Like things shouldn't cost as much as they do. It shouldn't be as hard as it is to get a job. There's a lot of stuff that's backwards. People pay 600 to 800 a month to live in a box. Yeah, and that's nuts too. Like I mean, rooms for rent already are at insane prices, but it's getting to a point where I just can never see myself living alone because these jobs, I've said before, if they hire somebody, they will get rid of them like that. They'll just throw you aside really quickly. So you can never become too comfortable with your position. But on top of that, like the amount you get paid versus how much the rent costs, it's just not enough. Like if you make 200 a month, 2,000 a month from some, like let's say a $18 an hour job, right? And they want 1,600, 500, 700 every month as well. You're going to be left with what, $300? But see, that's why I said that I really hate that relationships are the way that they are now, where it's like a bunch of gold diggers. Because I was talking about how um, the one of the employees I worked with had like a husband or whatever, and they're both working these, I guess, minimum wage jobs that are like close to whatever the lowest they can pay you is, whatever. But the difference between them and a lot of other people is they actually are a team. So they're making actually, 4,000 a month, and they both pay for the rent an even amount, which is like 1,800, 700. So basically, they both are left with over 1,000 each month because they cut it in half and pay for it together. And I said, that's why I told you, man, all this gold digger stuff, and you need to do forget that, man. These chicks, you will never meet one of them that does that type of stuff, that actually like improves your quality of living and assists you with essential things. You will never see that. You could talk to 1,000 of them. God, my window is so fogged up. I can barely even see. Like, I probably have to get out the vehicle and like rub it down to make out the images. That's really crazy. I can see a little bit, but that's nuts. This rain is truly not letting up. Food, gas, phone bill, and just other utilities gets kind of crazy. Most women help. Not a Most women help. No, they don't. According to what statistic you have to support that? They don't help with anything. I like every time you go online, what do these guys tell you? You need to be able to provide something for a woman. Oh yeah, they want help. Yeah. Even though help really is just do this for me, pay for this, buy me this. They have a real thin version of help. I can tell you that. They have a loosely defined version of it. I already said before, if I had the rhetoric that they do, where I was like, someone needs to help me get pay for my rent and take care of my kids, I would get laughed at so fast. I'd be a meme. But when they do it, it's all right. Oh, these double standards, they never seem to end. It's just so sad because like that model I was talking about where it's the guy and the woman like actually splitting things in half, it really is helpful, like to an extent that's almost it's almost like amazing to think about. I mean, if the guy gets laid off from his job, not only does he have the woman to fall back on for that particular month because he's still going to look for stuff after that, but also he still has what he saved from when he was working with her and paying only half of the rent instead of all of it, which would have been the case if he were single. So that's why I said that like relationships too often are a detraction instead of an addition to someone's life, especially if you're a guy, because a lot of these chicks are of the expectation that you're supposed to do something for them, but they never do anything for you. And in that scenario, the guy would be benefited, whereas, in reality, usually we're not. It's really sad. Like I said, I don't enjoy telling the truth about this stuff, but I go off of what I see, what I know, and you just don't see that any type of commitment as far as financial support from women that often when it comes to like men that they're like backing. You really don't see that. Most of the time they just flap their gums, just blah 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 blah. God, it is raining like crazy. I really thought if I just sat here and just kind of distracted myself with something else, maybe it would let up a little bit, but it's going full storm. It's nuts. Oh man, you really just can't win with this stuff, I tell you. Yup, you're right. In America, it looks like business relationship are the way to go. Kind of sad. Well, I was just saying that it's really it's disturbing too because things can be so much better than what they are. Like you can just add one. Like we were talking about, like rent costs too much, and how even if I work 40 hours a week for like a whole month, I still can't afford most of this rent. But if you put somebody else in that equation and it's two people cutting it in half, then suddenly a lot of stuff becomes affordable. And that's why I said it's really scary to me that like because of how difficult it is to even meet someone, let alone a person that's willing to actually be fair and split things up in an even manner. you just never are able to actually, move to a union that's actually beneficial to both parties. Because like I said, you can like somebody, you can enjoy talking to them, whatever, but I'm talking about like a tangible thing that being with the woman does for you, and I don't see it. um it's really hard to come by. Megumi mentioned that he had a friend whose girlfriend bought him like a PS5. Like, I every time I see an expensive gift being bought, it's usually the man buying something for the woman. So that was an extremely rare scenario. And really, I said before, like, basic utilities are all I care about getting some kind of benefit from, because this stuff really is a lot for one person, and it is significantly less problematic if it's two people that are working through it, I should say. God, this rain, man! I must really love streaming, because I really came out here in this weather to just to speak to a few people. I must really be in love with turning my camera on. At least if it's bad like this on Monday, I can just stream at the house. Well, I hope anyway. I don't know. We might have a sixth one here. Yeah, I agree. But in America, it's not based on love of the person, but what the person can do. Um, I don't know. I feel like it's based that way for women, because a lot of them are very shallow and materialistic, and um, usually we'll talk to 5, 10, 15, 30 guys online and try to figure out which one is the most they can, get some kind of exchange out of. But what gets me is that I don't see any guys sitting around like tallying up. Can this woman do this for me? Does she have the ability to do? Like, it just seems like if you're a man, you're actually attracted to a woman because you like her for whatever reason that has to do with. It could be the way she looks, personality, whatever. And then if you're a woman, you're always looking for like something you can get out of the guy, and that's why I said the chicks really are this demented, twisted group, because so many things that they do are based around not being attracted to someone for who they are, but what they can get you, or like none of it is based around actually wanting to be with someone because of who they are. Kati Merchant says, "What's up? Oh, all this rain. I mean, this is really crazy. They fogged up my whole window. God, man, I can't even see out the back. I'm just dreading like having to go out there and wipe the thing off, and then it's gonna be wet up again. I never understood that either, because if it's raining so much and it's all this water, you would think it would drop, it would like wet the it wouldn't like freeze the back. You'd be able to see out of it. I can see a little bit, but not as much. Thank God there's the mirror on like the side, because some of these mirrors, they like that, especially the front one, just it gets fogged up to levels of absurdity. I mean, that's crazy. You can't even see out of that thing right now. I probably could if I just manually, go through and scrub all of it off, but it's going to be a real hassle just driving today. I think I'll probably just, after the streams, I'll go to pick up some groceries, and then that'll be the full extent of stuff today. It's raining way too damn much to do anything else. Maybe if it lets up tonight, I might go for a spin, but as things currently stand, this is really crazy. I mean, you want to talk about raining cats and dogs? Like, this is nuts. It's always interesting to me how I have, like everything here is closed, right? And then somehow it still gets fogged up, like from the inside. Like I just find that really interesting. Just this, just completely coated in um, whatever ice substance this is. I just want to return to my previous view. Hello? You know where I am. Yeah. I'm not going out of the car. No, I'm not going in there. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm going to the store. To the market. I always get stuff on Saturday. You know that? Yeah, and I'm going to the market. Oh, weather has gotten worse over the years. Yeah. I mean, they said the last 3 years were what, the hottest on record. I just want to get out of this weather. This person's talking about getting them something from here. I don't even actually get stuff from here. I just come here to stream. And I wouldn't have to come here if they weren't there all day. So it's like, I told you, man. So I've had so many fantasies of just living alone. I really just things would be so much easier. They don't seem to understand that I really don't want to be in this weather any longer than I have to be. As far as like, I'm talking about like physically getting outside and being in the, it's just they don't seem to comprehend that. Yeah, if they want something from here, they can come and get it themselves. Like I'm not the damn errand boy. They'll call somebody else lazy, but then they won't leave their home to go and get this thing that they apparently really want. Okay, I like how that works. You know what I mean? Like it's just I'll never get over the irony that all the people who will say somebody else is lazy, if you actually look at just pay attention to the things that they do and the way that they act when they're asked to do simple stuff, or when they say they want something but then won't do it to get it, they're the true lazy ones. I find that hilarious. A Akatsuki merchant is lazy. Then a Akatsuki merchant goes out to Starbucks. Hey, Akatsuki merchant, can you give me something to drink? Oh no, I don't want to go out in the rain. Why are you acting like you can't do anything? But I'm the one who's sitting at home and won't, instead of going out to get the thing that I apparently want. Projection and hypocrisy. So Megumi, because I didn't know if you would watch the video about the that stupid article. Like I didn't know if you would just think it was just another old news story, but I was hoping you would see it, because very rarely do I see news like major outlets or just news places talking about that stuff. So now I have actual numbers to back my position. 60% of young men in America are single. That's crazy. And then you read the article and it's talking about women now earn most bachelor degrees, and they don't want a man who has less earnings and education than them. It's like, but wait a second, those two things are not hand in hand. And the article itself even knows this, because it points out that that men still make more money than women do on average. So you can have more education than someone else and not more earnings. I mean, we know that there are plenty of teachers who get paid less than plumbers, for example. So I like how the article contradicts itself, and it's like it tries to make it sound like it cares about men. Oh, men are lonely and they're committing suicide at 4 times the rate of women, but we're going to blame them for not being able to give a woman what she wants, and then be surprised when they get depressed. We're going to constantly tell them they're not good enough, and then be shocked when they're depressed. We're going to blame them for every damn thing under the sun, but then we're going to be surprised and they get depressed. Yeah, I was shocked, dude. I was very intrigued by the stuff mentioned in the article. I like that they pointed out when they were like, if women outnumber men, then who are all of these women dating? And like if single men outnumber single women 2-1, then who are all these women dating? And then they were like, well, one of the answers is each other. It's like it's hilarious to me to have had all these people that try to accuse a man of being gay. If he's like not able to get a woman to like him or whatever. And then the article mentions that it's a bunch of women who are dating each other, and that's one of the reasons their numbers isn't as big. You don't think that's crazy that if you are, and they don't define what a young male is, by the way, so you could be 18 or 38 as far as we know. But we'll just assume they're talking about like guys in their 20s and early 30s. You don't think it's crazy that if you're in America and you're a supposedly young guy, because they don't define what the ages they're talking about are, that means there is a 60% chance you are not dating any woman, you're not with any woman, you're just nothing, just a complete dry spell. Like that's insane. The article is a huge contradiction, is a straight double standard. It is so ready to condemn men, but with women they don't get any type of scrutiny, it seems. No, they don't. Like the article doesn't mention all the chicks that sit online and talk to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 guys, right? From different countries that they know they're not going to go see and just wasting everyone's time. It doesn't say, hey, if all these guys are single and these women are not, maybe they have some high standards. Maybe there's something having to do with the fact that like these guys apparently want to be with someone, but they're never considered good enough to be with the person that they're attracted to. They never, like, women are to blame for nothing. Just they can never be criticized. Exactly. That's why I mentioned my comment touched on things don't really delve into properly and leaves out so much other factors that affects this issue tenfold. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of little external stuff that can screw you up. Like, you got all these chicks that have racial preferences where they won't date a guy who's not whatever race that they like. You have chicks that, again, talk to 10, 20, 30, 40 men. I mean, there's a whole bunch of factors that people just don't want to mention because if you bring it up, it paints women in a way that's not entirely pretty. And I love that the article is like, men also do not have any. Some men have no close friends and only one close friend, and their number of close friends has dropped over the last 30 years. I'm like, well, I mean, what does that have to do with being with a woman? Like me and my best friend, for example, both can easily find people to speak to and talk about whatever type of stuff with. So but again, it's like they're trying to paint a narrative that if you can't get a woman, not only are you this strange, lower earning character, but you also are this friendless. And it's just it's just shoving you into these stereotype boxes that they're trying to do with that article. When I was reading, I was like, I'd rather have one friend that treats me very well than a bunch of crappy ones who betray me and who are all the same. Like, there's a such thing as quality over quantity. Like I said before, I don't need to date 10 women. Just if you want to go on a date with somebody, you like them, then you become whatever. That by itself would have been enough. But they try to act like, we all have these dreams of just being with all these It's so weird, man. You can have the most basic of wants and people will just be like, it's too much. It's too much for you to want to date a woman who you can at some point get married to, have a family with in the long term. But it's not too much for a woman to say, well, you might make more than me, but you don't have a degree, so I don't like you. Oh, I may like speaking to you, for hours on end, but you're not as pretty as I would like, so I'm not interested in you. Like, it's like if you have standards or a goal, Too much. If a woman has one, you better go meet the goal. You better go and improve yourself and work on yourself. Oh man, that stuff is a revolving door. It isn't fair. So that means this is secretly a matriarchal system, pretty much. I already told you they're full of crap because they want to have it both ways. They want to tell you that you're not doing enough to appeal to women, but then they also don't want to flip the mirror back and go, well, wait a second, what are women doing to appeal to men? Because again, we mentioned women don't ask men out on dates that they think, even the ones they think are attractive, they don't ask them out. So the article could say, hey, if there's all these single men, why are like they didn't bother asking them, have you been asked out by a woman? I bet you they didn't, and they don't make any mention of it in the article either. But the matriarchal system's a joke because women want to have equality and the same opportunities as men, but they don't want any of the downsides of it. They don't want to have to ask out men. They don't want to have men that trying to only be men in general are not anywhere near as much gold diggers as women are. So yeah, there's really just they want to have their cake and eat too. They want to enjoy the perks of being this equal opportunity society while also trying to keep these restrictive gender roles when it comes to who asks out, who pays for what. And that's why I said, like, the two things don't mesh together, and people are seeing more and more that a lot of guys are like, all right, to hell with it, man. Because the article mentions there's a bunch of guys don't even try anymore. And you're looking at one of them. Well, that's how it is. You can't have it both ways. I'm telling you, man, these fake feminists, they're the worst. Like they want you to ask them out, but they also want to tell you that they want to be your equal. And if they're your equal, then why the hell do you have to always ask them out? They want to be your equal, but then they also want you to pay for their stuff, but they never pay for your stuff. So how are we equal if it's me? Like it, they are as contradicting as contradictions get. They say one thing and do the other. They're change on the outside and continuity on the inside. I'm so glad the article at least does mention how more guys been waking up to this scam. I'm glad because, a lot of times you feel like you're talking to a brick wall. But, I said before that I had a feeling it was a lot more guys than were because the way people online try to make it sound is you are weird and that's why a woman doesn't like you and you're not getting any because you are strange. But I always would notice that I would have male classmates who, if they had a girlfriend and they never talked about her, and if they saw some girl in class that was attractive, they wouldn't say anything to her. So I always had this underlying belief that there probably were more guys with this same problem than people wanted to let on or mention. And sure enough, that's exactly what's happened here. This article confirms that a majority of young guys, like the group that's been around for social media, are not with the woman, and a lot of them aren't even bothering to try and get with one because it's not worth it. Like, they're sick of it. So I always had that feeling that number was bigger than because the way people make it sound is it's just this small group of guys that are unable to get with but it's a whole bunch. Most of them just don't go online and talk about it is the difference. But there's a whole bunch of guys that just have had it. They're sick of it. And they might not make a video, they might not express it in any way that would be directly known, but there's a lot of guys that are tired of that stuff. A whole bunch. Yeah, just leave it alone. They try to make fun of men that are homosexual, but yet most women accept it and don't say a thing like which one. Well, I already said before, I don't have a problem with gay people. I was just saying that a lot of times they've tried to lump men that can't get a woman in with being that, which is really stupid. But that's why it was funny that the article points out that there are women dating each other. That's one of the reasons their number is lower. Even though I really do believe that um, that's probably a small percentage of why. You know what I'm saying? Like the actual number of people who identify as like LGBT or whatever is probably much smaller than how do I explain this? I don't think like if let's just say for example that gay women couldn't get a woman like in the same way that a man can't get a woman, like if that number was added to the single women, it probably would be like 2 or 3 more% of them. Like that's not even a thing that's worth mentioning almost because they're just in general they're not. It's a non-entity. Because what the real issue is that a lot of these chicks will be with some guy that they're trying to get stuff out of, or some other little scam they're running. So that's why their number isn't as high because they're in these situationships. Hey, this guy pays my car note. I guess I'll bang him tonight. Told you, man. All that stuff is just. This whole woman situation is so rancid. You see, yeah, I'm single and prefer to stay that way. I just don't see the point in dating. Too many rules and stipulations are up to make you fail. Well, I said before that that romance in the current era is designed is like meant to set up men to fail because you tell these guys, like I don't know if Megumi caught this, but I did in the article. They're like, women are tired of doing the emotional heavy lifting for these men that are not expressing of themselves, but you're supposed to like I guess keep saying that you're really not. Oh man, my connection is acting up great. My connection just messed up my whole point. I was just saying that you can't have it ways where you tell someone to like to act a certain way to get a woman, but then like have the women upset that the man is not disclosing to them of what actually bothers them or is emotionally distant or whatever other term when you use to describe guys because everybody's a psychiatrist now, so if you're not blabbing about everything that affects you, you're emotionally distant. I'm just like you get what I'm saying, right? That like they set you up to fail because they tell you that you shouldn't act as who you actually are to appeal to a woman, but then they also like are chiding you for not expressing how you actually feel to a woman. So it's like, what do you want? Do you want him to act this way or that way? God, man, they're all over the place. And like I said, you don't have to be a college educated person to figure out that what they're selling is BS. Like I can just sit here and read this article maybe like once or twice. I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense to me. Because I saw that article when I was visiting one of my relatives, and I saw the article while I was over there, and I was just reading. I was like, man, I can't wait to dig my nails into this. You have to truthfully tell a lie. I don't know what they want you to do. They're all over the place. One minute they want you to express yourself and be open to speaking about the things that bother you. The next minute they're telling you you shouldn't be this way or act this way. It's a mess. No, it is raining like there is no tomorrow. Man, some people call you and they make you regret even answering your phone. Yeah, I noticed that too, but it's like how are you able to establish an actual friendship with these chicks if you're going to be condemned or dictated in the way they perceive as right? Yeah, you can't like I was saying with my best friend, for example, that's when I can let my hair down with. I can talk about things that bother me, and I can tell them about things that actually bother me, and know that for the most part, I will probably not be judged. Like feel confident about just expressing a thing that bothers me to him, And I was saying, like, you can't do that with chicks because people want you to behave a certain way to appeal to them, and expressing yourself in that manner is going to make you very susceptible to worrying that you will say something that is off-putting to this person. So like I said, you're set up to fail because they tell you to be more open, but then if you are open, you can offend this person or say something that turns them off. So it's like, what's the point? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Man, this romance stuff is the worst. Like, I hate that they even wrote that article. I wish they would. They don't usually get rid of stuff, but that's one thing I wouldn't mind seeing gone. That was bad. Like, I'm glad I got the statistics from it. But outside of that, I would just walk away. And I mean, you could kind of guess because when they're talking about birth rates being at a 30-year low, it's like, yeah, because people are just like, men are having a harder time than ever getting with a woman. So if they're having a hard time getting with one or even going on a date, you can forget having a family with them. That's why I abandoned all that stuff. Like, look, they're too alike. And Hamas to even dream of doing something like that with. Let me see what. My. Okay, anything misconstrued deemed offensive to them. So how are you able to express yourself in any way? Man, there was this one woman I spoke to. I wasn't even trying to do any romantic stuff with her, I swear. I spoke to her about 4 years ago, and I was talking about how people on this website were getting on my nerves so much that what did I say? I said some of the effect of it almost makes you wish they brought back. I'm not going to say what I don't want to get demonetized, but like, it was a joke. It was a joke about how people were messing with me, and I wish that they would bring back this thing that like made it to where these people didn't exist, because then they wouldn't be messing with me. And they're like, you want people writing mean YouTube comments? Like, no, I'm making a joke about how if this were enacted and it was about these people, they wouldn't be able to write this weird stuff anymore. Don't talk to me ever again. I love how she completely leaves out the part where they write nasty stuff to me. But if I say so, we talked about that before, where people online believe that they should be able to write whatever they want to you, however nasty it is. But then if you write something back or say something to them, then they like they clutch their pearls like, how could you say this about me? Oh my God. Sorry guys, still multitask. It's fine. Jim, I'm not about to hold you up. Oh, here we go. Oh, the worst weather on earth. Let's see here. God, that rain is really doing a number on this signal. Is this thing really just frozen now? Come on. Oh, man. On unstable. She definitely earned the title of a dingbat. This internet connection is a dingbat too. That was a whole minute of me just sitting there with that reading that thing. I just think it's funny to get offended for people that like you don't even know. Like, imagine some woman was telling me at her job, "Oh, I have this coworker and they're such a jerk. I wish they were, I don't know, whatever." And I'm like, "How could you say this about this random person I never met before?" And I can understand certain things. Like if I said, hey, I wish that I'm gonna go do, like, if you express a desire to actually physically harm somebody, I get someone reacting to that, you know, in a bad manner. But if you're talking about like, oh man, this person is so annoying, I wish they weren't even around, you know, like stuff like that's more nebulous. Um, and it's really more so to illustrate that you're just irritated with something versus actually, you know, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like it's just a weird thing to get offended by you, and if it's worded in that manner. But you know, people are always looking for stuff to twist and manipulate, and you know, I mean that chick was just nuts. So I just walked away. That's why when she was streaming, like I might do a stream and have maybe a few people watching. She was streaming on, I think it was Google Hangouts. Nobody came until I did. So she can go stream to her audience of 0. There's a whole bunch of like weird chicks online that are, and it's even funnier because they're not even like the smart ones. That if they're weird, they can come on there and just like scam men out of money with their a physical appearance. Some of them are weird in their pursuit of trying to become more well known. Like that one broad that I mentioned, I went to, she kept leaving these weird comments. I went to her channel and saw her newest video, and it had 1 view. And then I realized, so this is what she does. She just goes to different channels, writes something weird, and then people click on her nonsense and find it, and they're like, okay, well, this is unappealing. Goodbye. And that's how she gets more than 1 view. No, there's a lot of strange women online. Many, many, many. Yeah, this weather has been just dreadful. Um, like I'm not even excited. I'm just dreading like pulling away from here and going to the market, and then you know, like having to take that walk from inside to outside. Oh my god. Because I have to do that twice. I have to go there, go inside, you know, with all the rain, whatever. Then go back to the place and rain over there too. Just I already know what's gonna come. I think I had some that came from Amazon. It was delivered at that hub locker, but I'll probably just pick it up tomorrow instead. Because usually I like to pick stuff up immediately when it comes, but not in this kind of weather, man. It's too bad. This person's like, I can't believe you don't want to stay out longer and get back in this line to get me something from this place where I could just go myself and get it. Who would have guessed? It's like, well, I mean, heck, I wouldn't even have to stream from here if these people would ever leave. It's like, if it's crazy how if people don't go to work or school, they just sit at home all damn day. Like it's funny that they'll try to deride somebody for like for example, not having that many friends or whatever. But in reality, they're really no better off than you or I, because from what I've observed, if they speak to any of their supposed big collection of friends, they might just talk to them on the phone for hours on end, or every day or every other day or whatever, and then that's about it. Like these people don't hang out together. They're not going over each other's house. That's why I said this stuff is just sad, man. Even the people who try to make fun of you for like not hanging out with people or whatever, that's really what they are. You should feel bad because you're not with this other person. Like, no, not really. Yeah, this stuff is, I don't know, it's a lot of projection that's going on. Like if you really look at the lives of these people, you see their ridiculousness as far as the stuff that they're claiming and then what they actually are don't really intersect, you know. Oh man. Yeah, when I left this not even, I'm not gonna say this morning, when I left to come stream, my eyes were burning. So I sat back for a second. I was like, it's really irritating that on a normal day, if my eyes were burning, it wouldn't be that, it would be somewhere I could kind of like just stand in place for a second and then I could see out of them again. But because it's raining and the rain could get in there, it's even worse. It's like one bad thing after another. Mm. Man, I don't even know if I'm still online. It says I am, but yeah, streaming during weather issues is always the hardest thing in the world because over here it just fluctuates. Like there was actually, I'm gonna go see if I'll probably replay it after we're done. But there was a part where the thunder was like really close to here, and you could actually see like the flash. That's disturbing to me. It was really early on. I think it's right around when what do you call it, when Gem came. See, am I online? It says that I am, but I don't know if I believe it. I think I'm being lied to. It looks like I am. Well, we'll find out if people write anything else. That happened one time. I did a stream where I was back online, and then like the chat was acting up, or it was weird. I already said before, the internet it's the streams are always frustrating for me because I tend to get put in these situations where I don't really have a place where I can do it and know that no one's going to say anything. Or like if, like for example, if I go up here, there's a chance I'll be interrupted by the internet not working because there was there was one stream I tried to do where I went up here, I spoke for like 15 or 20 minutes, and then it just shut off, and I was really pissed off, irritated, etc. Because like I said, I try to just come here and speak twice a week. I understand, dude. I'm just glad you're still alive and I can hear you. I'm just saying, man, this internet, like it's bad everywhere, man. It's always trying, like the stuff is just awful. Even when it's not raining, it's bad. That's why I mentioned before, I did some stream where like the whole thing, just the camera just turned off. It was weird. So there's a lot of technology and internet issues that happen. Heck, I had some lights on. They turned off by themselves. So I have to use my flashlight if I go out for a drive at night. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens. Um, the stream kept crashing and buffering. Well, in the case of the one from, what do you call it? From that one particular, I think it was a Saturday. No, it was a Monday. In the case of that one, it was weird because there was no rain. It was kind of just whatever, and like it for whatever reason, it was acting up like in a way that was so abrupt to where it just shut the whole thing off, like within me speaking for not even half an hour. So that weather just it's bad. It can mess up a lot of stuff. I'm just thinking about making. I don't know, when I go for a drive, I'm always like having these different spots irritating where Like you'll have to park in some area where you're like backed in, and you have to make sure nobody is behind you, or you'll try to like make a turn into one lane and there's cars coming in the one in between. That it's always a hassle. It usually rains here in the UK so often, like literally almost every day. Surprisingly, the weather has slightly improved and hadn't got much rain for over a week. Over here, the weather fluctuates like crazy. It can be hot as hell on a Monday and dripping and drizzling on Saturday. It changes very quickly. Like I've been in December before where it's all sunny and bright and there's no rain, and then you get to January and you start getting that little drizzle, little pieces coming down. I'm like, oh my god. Mm-mm-mm. This rain is awful, man. I mentioned before that I used to go to Catholic schools. I had this one classmate who said that when it rains, the devil is slapping his wife, and I was like, "Well, I thought the devil was in hell. So if he's slapping her from down there, why would it be coming from the sky? Like, what's the logic of that? So is he like instant transmission up to the sky and slap her, and then all the rain just pours all over the world? Like, I was like, some of the things that they come up with are just they're creative, but they don't even follow their own mythology. Like they don't line up with what we're supposed to know about. Like just the various depictions of hell. Like they're not concurrent or congruent with those versions. It isn't well thought out. I think people just say whatever. Like I told you, I've met some people who will say, "Oh yeah, all you have to do to get a girlfriend is just do this." Like they really believe you just do this one thing or these two things, and then there's this magic result. And some of them have actually convinced themselves that a person like myself like wants to be single. So like they just create these like ideas in their head of what's happened to fill in gaps. Like they can't be bothered to ask you what happened, and you usually don't want them to because you know that they're going to say something stupid anyway. So it's like give or take. You either have your fan fiction uh, in place of them knowing what happened, or you try to explain it and deal with whatever their goofy responses will be. Because like I said, the whole era of me doing things to appeal to chicks, that's over, man. I'm not going to any places I don't want to go to. I'm not wearing anything I don't want to. I'm done. Like I said, they get to have this independent streak where they can do whatever they want as far as like not having to worry if a man will like them back or not. So I'm gonna do the same thing in reverse. Yeah, I ran out of cares to give about trying to appeal to, especially when you know it's an impossible task anyway. Like they're sad, man. I literally changing yourself to appear or to appease another person. Well, that's what all this romance advice comes down to. Wear this, exercise, go to this place. And it's like you don't really want to do these things. So if you don't want to do these things and they also don't guarantee you're going to get with a woman, then why bother? That's why I said the juice isn't worth the squeeze, because no one would ever say you have to exercise to appeal to me or to you. So what is their excuse for getting all of this effort? It's like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like what have they in general accomplished that makes them worth doing this stuff for? And the answer is nothing. like I said, I've seen plenty of attractive chicks, and usually I don't even bother saying anything because there's no point. I mentioned before I saw one at the market I go to, um, and I tried to just look away, like one of the employees there, and I'm like, it's just I'm tired of all the hula hooping and stuff like that. It's just obnoxious. So how are you able to be yourself? Those things don't correlate. That's one of the other stupid tactics I've heard is that apparently you act in this other way, and then after a certain amount of time has passed, then you start showing what you are, and then by that time the woman has fallen for you. It's just this 900 mind game crap. They're it's so funny how like you'll have people who will tell me that I think too much about this, but then they're the ones who have whole like romance campaigns and strategies and I mean like I'm talking about like they like they'll tell you you're thinking too hard about this if you analyze it and like talk about the nuances of stuff. But then when they're sitting here and putting out their schematics of their romance master plan, they're not overthinking it. Like that's so no, they don't correlate. And like I said, I wanted to go through that article with a fine tooth comb and just point out all the ridiculous stuff in there. And there's a few things I might have probably missed out on, but just in general, I pointed out that that it tries to be two things. It wants to paint a sympathetic portrayal of crises rather affecting men, right? With they don't have women usually, and they commit suicide 4 times more often than women, and whatever. They don't have as many close friends, but then it also doesn't want to lay blame at the foot of the opposite party. So it's like it's trying it can't, and that's why I said you cannot be sympathetic toward a group of people who you're not going to actually think that hard about why they're afflicted in such a way. How can that work? It doesn't. That's why the article is trash. Again, I like the statistics, but outside of that, it really was a waste of everybody's time to even read it because it's not trying to actually, come to any conclusions. But that's the problem with mainstream news. They always want to toe the line. Especially in this era where they think women are above criticism. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to say, hey, this is happening because this other group of people have standards that are ridiculously high, double standards actually in a lot of cases. Like they would, some of them are like 5'1" and they want to date a guy that's 6 feet. um, but they'll never mention stuff like that because they don't really talk about the shallowness of chicks. Because we were discussing before how like you could have a degree and you could have money, and then if you meet some woman, who's to say she actually likes you for who you are? I mean, they pretend gold diggers don't exist in that article, and they also pretend that women don't actively turn down men that they otherwise would have no problem talking to as friends because you're not pretty enough for them. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff that article tries to like skirt around and not really address or go into. So I said that chick stuff, it brings out the worst in people. Like it makes a lot of people's brains just go to mush. Um, they don't really want to go too in depth on what's actually happening here. So they just kind of say vague. They make vague statements. Oh, there's a thing where men aren't getting women to like them as much as they used to. Blah 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 blah. And that's kind of it. They don't really try to feel for things in a way that's actually doing something. Um, that gets into the nuances of stuff. Which is why I said like, oh, they cite these people. Oh, this person wrote an article. Oh, this person wrote a book. It's like, okay, well, they're still saying stupid stuff. They're still giving half baked responses, women expect more from men. Unfortunately, so many men don't have more to give. Like, right, so it's our fault that we're single. It's our fault that we're single. It's our fault that we're depressed. It's our fault we don't have all these close friends that we're supposed to apparently have out of necessity, as the article claims. So what new thing did we learn from this article other than blame the man like usual? Like Megumi, I'm sorry, I don't have more to give. The only thing that was worth reading about in that whole article were the statistics. The 60% of single men in America, and what's the other one? Like nearly half of them don't try, or the number of ones that actually attempt are declining. I'm glad. Yeah, pretty much, unfortunately. But I'm glad the number is declining. I hope at some point you go on one of these stupid dating websites and you don't see a single man on there. I hope we get to a point where if a woman wants to talk to some guy, she has to get off of her usually large behind and go and ask out men. I hope that men just completely don't even look at chicks. I hope that eventually happens. It could be in 5 years, 10 years, 20. I don't care. I hope eventually you can't even get a guy to say hello to a woman he's not working with or has some kind of other obligation as part of a job to speak to. I hope that happens, because it's time for them to get what we got. It's time for them to get ignored. It's time for them to get accused of stuff. Like, they should be given the same level of mistrust and discomfort. And I'm not saying any violent stuff, but just just don't bother with them is what I'm getting at. Like, just leave them alone. Let them have to go and approach for once. Let them have to DM you. I remember you mentioning this kind of solution before that you reasonably analyzed that will just never happen, but it may happen eventually soon. Look, I didn't know that over 60% of American guys that they consider to be young are not asking out women, like, or rather are single, and then it's like half of them aren't even bothering anymore. So that's literally like a third of men in the age bracket of that they consider to be young aren't even bothering. But like I said, I hope that we get to a point eventually where you can't even get a guy to say hello to a woman. Like, I really hope that happens. Like some stuff needs to just get to its complete bottom out period before it can get any better. I believe that. I really think things would be much better off if over the next couple of years, less and less guys are on these stupid dating websites. They don't leave any comments on a woman's picture ever. And they just start going, hey, you know what? I'm not bothering with you. Told you, I've joined some. I haven't been in anyone's Discord server since last September, but I used to join some servers and have all the chicks that were there muted unless they were mods, because too many times when I would go there, they would try to like accuse you of doing something, and I just didn't have any patience for it anymore. So I really hope at some point, eventually, they just get nothing from men. Just they get the same result we got from them, just complete bottomed out nothing. I would love that, because I told you this before, and I will keep saying this. There is nothing that women do that you cannot do for yourself or pay somebody to do for you. There is nothing that they do to where, how will I ever live if she doesn't like me back? Nothing. So all this stuff about, oh, you need to do that, you don't have to do any of that stuff. Not a single thing. And and you shouldn't, because they don't do any of it for you. So yeah, I really hope that they get what's coming to them as far as like getting no attention from men. I hope that. I hope the next time one of them makes an OnlyFans, they can't even get two people to sign up for that thing. Told you, I went on YouTube. I saw this video about this woman. They said she made 900,000 a year from OnlyFans, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, here's a broad that nobody ever heard of, no particular talent whatsoever, and she's making a number that people who go to college don't even make, and it's like that's ridiculous. That shouldn't be allowed to happen. And listen, we said before, there are chicks in this world who are talented, chicks that can draw, that can write, that can edit stuff, animate, whatever. Um, there are talented chicks that actually deserve to get some recognition for a thing that they learned how to do. When some woman comes online and starts shaking her butt, tell me you haven't seen it 1,000 times before. So that's why I said, like, why should this particular one be singled out to become wealthy? The answer is she shouldn't. But horny guys, got convinced themselves that she was something that more than what she actually was, and they allowed her to ride to success. And I hope that as more and more time passes and guys see how they're getting no actual thing from any particular woman, they just say whatever with all of them. I don't think this be allowed to happen either. I told you, man, the craziest thing to me in this world is that you can learn something. Like, let's say you want to learn about science, right? You can learn to be a scientist. It is extremely unfair, but see, that's the power of the triangle. The triangle is able to trick people. See, I want to call it the triangle scam. The triangle scam is to be able to convince people that this person's gender makes them better than you or I. That just because of their gender, they have this thing that we need, that like we can't live without it. That's the triangle scam. The idea that because this person is a woman, we have to go and pay for her stuff. We have to go and approach her. We have to finance her lifestyle as she sits on this website showing off to the world. And you shouldn't have to do any of that. Like I said, there are chicks that are worth supporting, that actually know how to do stuff that requires talent. Shaking this it's nothing. It's just a stupid, dumb tactic that unfortunately tricked a lot of guys. They fell for the scam. It is extremely unfair. How many men get to go online and shake their butt and have 900,000 a year? You don't see that. Like, even actual talented women, as you mentioned, don't get that kind of recognition or support for their hard work. Yeah, and that's really sad, because we encourage deviant, disgusting behavior. Like, there are a lot of talented women, they don't earn anywhere near. Think of all the women that are teachers. They have to sit there and grade all these papers and instruct the class. They don't make anywhere near that amount of money. So yeah, there are women that are a lot closer to actually deserving to get that kind of recognition for an actual thing they know how to do. But instead of them getting it, some stupid broad that nobody ever heard of, that has no talent whatsoever besides shaking her whatever, is getting it. And that's insane to me. Yeah, you said that's damn insane. I agree. But some random chicks online nobody knows go online to show some skin and get crazy amount of viewers and financial support. And that's ridiculous to me. That doesn't make any sense. That is a subversion of reality, and it's something you can only do if you're able to convince people of the triangle scam. That's why I'm going to start calling it. That you have this thing that they can't live without, and that they need. They have to see it. And it's all BS. I'm telling you, there isn't a single woman on any of those sites doing that stuff that you can't live without. Which is why I said I hope as we get more and more into guys, because the article's like, oh, men watch porn or whatever. It's like I hope that we get more and more guys that don't even like, if they watch that stuff, they're watching something in a way that doesn't benefit any of these chicks at all. Like I don't want them giving any financial support to them or checking their stuff out. Nothing. Because it's like, what are they like? Why? For what? She's not doing it to you. That's why I said I really think that for a long time women were overvalued. See, a lot of these guys, when they make these videos, they talk about how women they were important because they're needed for like the Greek production and all. But a lot of these chicks don't even want to have kids, so that's already rolled out. So really, what I'm saying is, I want them to be treated just as bad as men are treated. I want them to never get any kind of huge support from any of this exotic stuff they like to do. Again, if they have an actual talent that people support, that's a different story. Because I was talking about like actual talented ones should get supported in that manner. But any of this promiscuous stuff that they're showing, all that needs to just be ignored. Exactly. Spending their money on picture videos of chicks they're probably never going to meet or get with. Dude, some of these chicks won't even speak to you. Like they won't even say hello if you send them a message and like you want that as the person you seek out. Like it's nuts. I wouldn't even bother, man. I'm telling you, man, I truly believe that the triangle scam is something a lot of people have fallen for, and more are just getting sick of it, and I'm happy about that. And I really hope that as more and more time passes, you see less and less guys falling for this stuff. I can think of 30 things I would buy before even contemplating going on OnlyFans or any of these other stupid websites. Very glad more waking up to the triangles. The TS. I told you they're no better than you or I. Sometimes the only reason they're more wealthy is because they've been able to swindle cash out of guys. But as far as like, are they more intelligent? Are they nicer people? They have nothing over you or I. And like I said, they're lucky that a really unique scenario has been created with this half-baked equality thing that people are trying to enact, right? Where you want equality for things that are appealing and for things that are not, right? You can keep it that the way that it was. But because of how half-baked this attempt at equality has been, people have been able to basically take women as a whole and prop them up as if they're this thing that is sacred, and you need to do all these activities and various ventures to even remotely qualify as someone she may consider. But really, as I said before, they're nothing. They're no better than you or me, and in a lot of cases they're much worse, because we don't sit around talking to 10, 20, 30 chicks that we're not interested in being with. So I like that people are waking up to the fact that there's nothing that they have inherently that makes them better than us. That even if you see someone you think is attractive, you should just ignore her, because what's the point? She thinks she's better than you, and she's not. So I'm like that anywhere I go. So I meet some woman, you know, I might say hello. If the person speaks to me, that's it. I don't sell any of these stupid websites trying to talk to them. None of that. Like I said, there's no point. We need to take this scam, close it, and like just purge it, just get rid of it, just don't even engage in anything that could be, because like I said, there's a whole bunch of chicks active on all these different websites. I don't speak to a single one. No point. Exactly. Definitely understand your stance on the self-preservation and making accommodations. Yeah. Told you that that whole era of me going on different sites and trying to like get you know, one to talk to me, that's done. And it seems like more and more people are done with them too, and I'm glad. Don't ever let anybody on, if you take one lesson away from this whole damn channel, don't ever let anyone online convince you that just because someone has that in between their legs, they're better than you. They're not. And most of them are not, because most of them haven't accomplished anything that remotely qualifies them to have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 guys trying to ask them out. Don't ever be convinced of that. Like I said, they're not famous. They haven't starred in any movies. They haven't released any platinum albums. So they shouldn't have a dozen guys trying to talk to them, or even more than that. Even 6, probably. Because like I said, when's the last time you had 6 chicks asking you out? Once a year or every couple of months? Never. So I hope that we get more and more closer to just every guy being like, all right, forget it. Because only then will you start to see them go, okay, well, now we can't act like just having this thing. We can't rely on the triangle scam anymore. So now we have to go and actually engage with people and not be pricks and waste everyone's time anymore. That's the only way. I mean, you're laughing, Megumi, but I bet you if they logged onto their social media and there wasn't a single DM from a guy or message on their, I bet you all of them would be like, hey, what is happening? What's going on? I got to go talk to some men. I bet. Because they've never had to deal with anything like that before. If we as a whole group, like I said, man, there's nothing they do that makes them better than us. Just imagine the shock they'd be in. That would be their face. Hey, you've never seen this. They go online, they log into their account, they see no DMs, no likes on their picture, maybe like one from their mom. They're like, what in the world? What's going on? Speaking to them, even like, I'm not even joking. If men in real life didn't ask them out, and if men online didn't ask them out, see a complete change in dynamics overnight. Because they like male attention. That's why they talk to so damn many of us. You think I'm kidding? If we as a collective group said, all right, it's time for chicks to remember that we're not subhumans and we actually mean something and have feelings that matter, it would be a complete reverse. If they ever experience a semblance of a dry spell that guys get, they'll most likely freak out like hell. They'll probably think something is wrong with them. Yeah, because that's what they tried to preach to me when I was in high school, and I didn't even know about any of these groups. And just like year after year, you ask out some girl or whatever, you get turned down. I was like, I'm not good enough for anybody, and I must be doing something wrong. And then when I got in the 12th grade and I saw my best friend had the same problem, and one of my other, like I had classmates that had the same problem, and I went online and people were talking about how hard it was. I was like, wow, so this is really just a thing that's happening. Like not even just in my area, around the world. Jesus. Yeah, they'll know what it's like to feel unwanted. As they are so used to having so much attention or messages from a plethora of guys. Dude, you give them that dry spell for a week, some of them will probably be going to rehab. They'd be like, they'll be on like that on that lawn chair, you know, the chair that's like bent in the back, like, I don't know what happened. I was just like posting pictures, and all of a sudden the guys stopped responding, and where did they go? It will be over, man. This whole like, and like I said, it deserves to be over. All this romantic stuff of asking them out and thinking that they're too good for the world, that needs to die. Like that, this whole romantic situation of the current era needs to go, and it looks like it might go even faster than I thought it would. 60% of young guys in America are single, and like half of them don't even ask out chicks anymore. That's crazy. Like I said, they can call me the I word and all this other crap, but it's not going to change the fact that people have picked up on this. They've picked up on the fact that a lot of modern women are a rotten crowd, and people have taken the triangle scam and used it to tell men that you're not good enough and you never will be with anybody. When really, if you never end up with anyone, it's not about you as a person. It's about a really screwed up system that tells women that they're too good for every single guy that even bothers asking them out. So I'm glad more and more people are seeing it. The statistics don't lie. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I really do want to get like a cigarette and just like, all right, that's my interest in chicks, just being smoked away, just going up in the air. I don't smoke, so I wouldn't do that, but just like just to like make fun of this whole thing. But yeah, they're a group with declining return investment. People are really picking up on just how insane it is to even bother with a lot of them now, and I'm happy about that. So look, I'm gonna get off of here because I've been going for over 2 hours now, and I got to go run this last errand, and then probably if it looks like it stopped raining, I don't see any, I don't hear any more drizzle. Oh wait, now I do. Yeah, well, I'll probably just go and run my last errand and then go home. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm sorry there were 2 interruptions with the Wi-Fi acting like, you know, Kakapuku Pee Shire, but I'll be back on Monday and then we can pick the conversation back up if people want to. So thanks for showing up, Megumi, Akatsuki Merchants, Jem, and his lovely, generous contribution I did not expect. And have a good rest of your weekend.